Lift off and take off. We're going to be speaking this morning. My name is Sean Rais, and we are going to be speaking this morning about brand launch, product launch. We're in that space where a lot of people are launching different things, launching services, challenges, all kinds of meetings and products. And it's we're at the cusp of the new year, old year going now. We were talking about the impact of COVID and what that's doing to people, how people are handling that impact and that wave. You know, as waves come in, waves go back out. So there's a lot of people that are putting together their launches, their products, their services, their newfound values. I don't want to say out with the old, but out with the energy and in with the new energy. So there's a lot of energy that is going to be released. And I want to speak to the proper release of a brand, product, or service so that you can be properly equipped to win in this new space that we're in. So around this time, I'd like to share my screen and make sure that everybody can see my screen before we get into it. So if you can see my screen, just put it in the chat for me. And I will promptly, good. Let me remove myself from this here. Stop the video so you can see more of the screen. Open that up. So brand launch X. What does that look like? What is a launch really? What components entail a launch? Because a lot of people have products, they have services, they have ideas, and they have things that they want. They have values that they want to bring to the market. But there's a process. There's a proper process in which this is done. It's not done by just a post, somebody saying, hey guys, I've got this new thing, or buy my stuff, which is actually more of the way it comes across in different channels of what we call business media and what most people refer to as social media. It's like people have a thought and they just state it. They just state it to the masses. They say, hey, I've got this stuff, or I've got this new idea. Come join my program, or come to this, or come to this, and buy this and buy that. And that's just not the way to be sustainable in this market. That approach is not sustainable in this market. So we're going to be talking about approaches that are sustainable in this market, about practices that are sustainable in this market, and what that really looks like. So if everybody's ready, we're going to begin right now. First question, or let's go straight to the bottom. And before I begin, let me state again that the reason why you're seeing this precipice and this iceberg, because that's what we see during a product launch. There's an iceberg effect. So those of you who know myself, my story, I went from crickets to digits in the midst of the pandemic. My name is Sean Rais, branded like a leader. So what you saw was the release of a product. What you saw was the launch of a movement that has become global. But what you didn't see is the foundation. What you didn't see is the strategy. What you did not see and what you were not aware of was the channels of distribution, the early mornings and the late nights of strategy building. What you did not see was the money and the time that was invested into this product launch. All you saw was me come out and whatever I posted or whatever I said, and a successful launch is just like that. The successful launch, what you see is the end result. But there's a lot more going on what we call the back end. There's a lot more going on the back end than there actually is on the front end. And it is the back end that sustains the front end. So I just want to give that real quick before we begin. So foundation, the foundations for a successful product launch or brand takeover is competence and relevance. Competence and relevance. So, some questions you want to ask yourself is your brand or your product competent? I.e., are you who you say you are? Are you really, really competent enough to pull this off? Or are you just hustling and trying to get a dollar, trying to be heard, trying to be seen? As you know, or as I say, and as you will learn, there is only one direction in which you can hustle, and that is backwards. So when you hear someone saying, "Oh, we hustling, we trying to get it," that's all you're doing, really, and that's all they're doing is trying to get it. Will they get it? It will not be sustainable. No, it will not be sustainable. So, yes, you can make a couple of dollars, but you're not building a business, building a movement, building a brand, or building a sustainable model when you're just hustling. You need deep competence. You need to increase your competence capacity, whether that's getting certified, whether that's getting more education, whether that's getting a coach, whether that's getting a mentor and getting more experience under your belt. You have to be deeply competent, especially if you do what we do over here, which is add zeros to the back of our numbers. You can't do that and be shallow, light work. So, first step, really, are you competent? Do a self assessment, a self evaluation. Are you as deep as you think you are? Most times you'll find out that you're not, and you have to go back to school. Top influencers, top businesses, top CEOs, and businessmen and women stay in a state of learning. Stay in what I call the seat of creation, constantly renewing themselves, constantly updating their information and their operational outlook. Why? Because we live in a rapidly changing world, rapidly changing world. We were just speaking amongst ourselves before we went live about the impact of COVID. Things are rapidly changing in the marketplace. So what rules we play by today may not be the rules that we play by tomorrow. It's just that simple. Business and life is constantly fluctuating, constantly shifting, and constantly changing. So, one of the competencies that you need right now is agility, flexibility, adaptation, the ability to adapt. Are you so stuck in your model or in your way of thinking that when change comes, you're not prepared for it? Business is different now. You have to be light on your feet, agile like a cat, and ready to adapt at a point of contact. So the pivot, don't even think of a pivot as something you do when something takes place. The pivot, because you have to be anticipatory in this atmosphere. You have to be anticipatory. So you look forward and anticipate the next wave. Because if you wait until it hits you and try to adapt or pivot, then many times you're too late. So that's one of the components of competence. That is competence now, being able to be swift and changeable, and what we used to call always remainable. And number two, is your offer valid? Is your offer valid? Does it make sense? Does it solve a problem or provide a solution? So when COVID took place, when it first happened, everybody kind of shut down. Nobody really knew what to do. And some of us stood up and began to offer solution based products and services. Some people saw that and began to let their voices be heard too, but they didn't have a solution. They just had a voice. And there's nothing wrong with letting your voice be heard, but when you try to attach your voice alone to a price and a product, it gives the wrong impression. Because if you're in a market where there's a lot of products and services taking place, the question becomes, what value do you add? What value do you add? And when compared and contrasted against other service providers, what makes yours viable? What makes your product viable? So that you want to really take the fine tooth comb to your offer and see what your features, benefits, and advantages are. Do you really have an offer that people want? Does it make sense? Look at what's taken place. There's been hundreds of thousands of businesses, both large and small, taken out of operation, eradicated, never to come back. Why? Because their services and products are no longer valid. Pre COVID, they were very valid. In the present state, there's no need for them. And in the next wave or in the next segment of this, it appears as if everybody's going back on lockdown and it will only be essential models again, or essential services that will be provided or attainable. Is yours one of them? The reason why we were able to go from crickets to digits in the midst of the pandemic is because we were solutions oriented. I showed people how to make money and sustain themselves and their livelihoods through the creation of a personal brand and do business from a different standpoint during the pandemic. I provided a solution. We solved a problem. What problem do you solve? That's the question. What problem do your services and products solve in this market? Looking forward to the next. So that is the foundation to a successful launch of a brand and or product. Let's go into a timeline. So the first thing you want to do is you want to create an interest. You want to let people know who you are and what you do. We call it in the branded like a leader world, hashtag one, hashtag WON, putting the world on notice. First thing you need is something that is viable. Just what we went through first. Are you competent in its delivery? Number two, does it make sense? Is it viable? Is it worthy of someone to pay you or invest either one of two things in you and your offer? Number one, time, and number two, money. Does it even make sense to hear your offer? Because in this 3-second world, people do not have the time to pay attention to you. Things have become very, very serious. If we lived in a 3-second world pre-COVID, right now it's like a 0.30 half-second world, because nobody's paying attention to you if your offer or your service is not extremely dialed in, laser focused on a solution. People are losing heavy right now. People are losing more than just money or more than just their job. We are in a very crucial, sensitive moment in history, unprecedented. How is your service valid in that market? What they call it in the stock market would be extreme volatility, extremely volatile, shaken. The old model is broken. So if you're coming the way you would have came in 2019, pre-COVID, or 2015, don't even waste your time or money. You have to be innovative. You have to be creative. You will not create an interest in old, outdated business models or old, outdated service delivery methods. Everything is online. You can't stand outside and sell anything. So first, you want to create an interest. And then if you have an interest, so you put out a feeler, you get a response, you need to lean into that response heavy. You need to really lean into that response. So if you put something out there and you see that the market is kind of picking its head up or turning around or taking a double take, you need to take full frontal assault on that. You need to really lean into any attention that you can render in your direction. You need to what we call stir the hornet's nest. You need to agitate the situation. You need to expend all resources leaning into that attention and finding out if you really, really have something. So, what did I do? I created an interest. I saw the response. The people were buzzing, and I stirred the hornet's nest. To what degree did you stir the hornet's nest, Sean? I promoted and marketed a course, branded like a leader, for 3 months before I launched. 3 months. I leaned into it heavy and I continued to launch and accept clients while we were in the product delivery phase. While I was in week 3, we were letting people in. I brought in the last person on the last day, and they started from the first day. So you have to stir the hornet's nest, have a new model, be adaptable, be flexible, be agile, and then change your model to accommodate the situation. So before, I would have just launched and closed entry. Due to the extreme volatile situation in the market, I launched and continued to allow people to come in because it was so serious that they get this information so that they can continue to produce some kind of income during a volatile market shift. And I was thanked and rewarded for having that insight and my fingers on the pulse, as will you in your business model if you stay aware, not only self aware, but aware of the market and aware of other people. You really have to care here in this time. This is a human oriented service now. This is a high touch. This is what we call high touch market. If you are disconnected, if you are monolithic, if you are machinistic, that's an outdated model. If you are from the compliance era and not the concern era, this is the care and concern era. You have to have a high human touch and consideration to exist here. So create an interest, step 1, stir the hornet's nest, step 2, and then you see the dots that are in between step 2 and the release. You need to lean into the marketing, lean into the advertisement, lean into the putting the world on notice phase so that you can collect as many people and as much liquid as you can before moving forward. So that is the foundation and what a timeline looks like to a proper product or brand launch. Now, what was the strategy? What is your strategy? How are you going to attract leads? Are you going to use branded posts, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram ads to drive traffic? Is that one of your strategies? What about sales funnels, webinars, challenges, free value, lives, etc.? Again, we live in a different market. We live in a different market. You can't pass out t-shirts. No one wants to come close to people. The old way of doing things will not work. It just will not work anymore. So you have to adapt right now. Let me say something. You always heard there's a good book going around that says that you can learn from a child, and that you have to be able to receive instruction. The wise receiveth instruction. Well, how do you receive instruction? Some people, we might have to learn from our children. Hey, son, how do you work this? Because a lot of us are not tech savvy, nor are we social media savvy. But the market has shifted. You can't go to the mall, or you probably won't be able to go to the mall much longer. So, when and if that happens, if you're shuttered in again, did you learn the last time that you were on quarantine how to make market, how to make money in this market, how to adapt, how to be swift and changeable, how to utilize the services that are available? Did you learn Facebook, YouTube, Instagram? Did you learn how to provide a service to people that need it, as opposed to waiting for someone to tell you whether or not you can come back to a job that wasn't termed or considered to be essential? What do you know about sales funnels, webinars, challenges? You probably attend these things, but what is it like behind the curtain? Can you do the back end? Can you be a producer in a consumer driven market? What is your strategy? How many strategies do you have? So, the sales funnels, the webinars, the challenges, the free value giveaways, the lives, the branded posts, the Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube ads, these are all strategies. These are all strategies, and you can produce. You've probably heard the term multiple streams of income. These are sources of your multiple streams of income. Look at them all as a cloud. So the funnels are a cloud, the webinars are a cloud, the challenges are a cloud, the Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube ads, those are three clouds. Your branded posts, those are clouds, and streams of income or rainfalls. If you're a rainmaker, now, if you haven't written anything down, you should write that down. If you're a rainmaker, then streams of income can come from each of these clouds. But do you know how to make it rain in this market? That's what you need to know how to do. Make it rain. Sales projection. What do your numbers look like? What do your numbers look like? See, in the old market, this model would fit. It would be USA, China, Germany, and France. Now, in this new market, I want you to look through different lenses. I want you to see things differently. So, the way you would say, or the way an economist would look at this, or a geographical engineer would look at this and say, okay, United States of America, China, Germany, and France, I want you to see Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Pinterest. These are different sources of revenue. Those are all different worlds, different continents, different countries with people who speak differently. What is LinkedIn? Facebook for businesses. They speak differently. There's a different culture. There's a different attitude. There's also a different pay grade. What about Twitter? Different model, different culture. I think they use 140 characters. That's it. They speak differently. You can't do a long form sales letter on Twitter. It won't work. If you're not branded and succinct, it won't make sense. Instagram, primarily pictures, Pinterest, all images. If your brand is not represented or representable by an image, you will not speak their language. You will not speak their language. So while people are making money and making sense, you will be there experiencing what we call crickets in the thickets. You'll be up to your knees in crickets, and all you'll hear is that sound. All you'll hear is that sound while other people are hearing a money machine. So, this is why some people are experiencing rainfall and other people are experiencing droughts in the same market. So, set a number and then reverse engineer it. And your reverse engineering of it may look like learning a different culture. It may be learning a different language. How do I take a long form sales letter and make it 140 items or characters, spaces and periods included? What does that look like? What are hashtags? What are hashtags and how do you use them to draw the right people and get in the right conversations? What does that look like? What does that even mean? Sometimes the old may have to be led by the young. It's a different world. What are your sales projections? Don't start a launch without having a sales projection. That's the beginning of an economic plan. And those who fail to plan, hmm, plan to fail. What are your targets? What are your targets? Who are your targets? What is your population? What is your demographic? What does your ideal client look like? What do they do? Where do they exist? What are they doing right now? Are they sleeping or are they on this call? Are they viewing this? Will they view it later? Do they care at all? This will determine your messaging and where you send your messages. Remember, again, USA, China, Japan, Germany, France. For us in this market, it's Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. Where are your targets? Where do they do business? Where do they relax? Where do they consume content? You need to find out and you need to capitalize. You need to mobilize and you need to capitalize. So, first, strategize, mobilize, and capitalize. Three things I think everybody's pen should be moving on: strategize, mobilize, and capitalize. As soon as you see the pattern, as soon as you see the opportunity, you have to lean into the resources and not wait. This is why we're able to put zeros behind our numbers. Number one, we need to. Number two, we have value. You need to be intelligent, innovative, and resourceful. Just think. Don't panic. Just think. What do people need right now? Realistically, they need the same things that they've always needed. So if you come to the internet, you come primarily for three different reasons: motivation, education, and entertainment. Me. Motivation, education, and entertainment. Which one can you lean into? Where does your competency exist? And then how can you, we're going to speak about this later, but how can you get in on that note and then take off from that platform in a different direction? But again, strategize, mobilize, and capitalize in a different market. You see USA, China, Japan, Germany, and France right now. We have Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. I call that the Fab Five. Let's move forward. So, strategy entails these are parts of your strategy: sale projections and targets. Is this making sense to everybody? Is this adding value? Put it in the chat if you understand the relevance of this and you understand why it makes sense, why it's very, very important that you tap into these different markets that have been in your phone the entire time. This is the superpower of it. The superpower of it is you have the power to go to the moon in your pocket. Write that down. Write it down in your head. Write it down on a piece of paper so that you can learn it or see it in 3D. You have the power to go to the moon in your pocket. There is more power in your phone right now than there was when the first people went to the moon. You have more power in your pocket in the common conventional handheld cell phone. You can go to the moon. You can go from crickets to digits on your phone. You do not need laptop, camera, extensive setup. You do not need marketing budget, people. You, you don't need it. You can do it all. You can automate it all on your phone if you can focus, concentrate, and deploy your attention. Okay. Distribution. Let's go into the distribution piece. Where are you distributing your content? And again, how are you distributing your content? What does that look like? Facebook again. Zoom. Right now, we're on a Zoom meeting on Facebook. This is the integration of different platforms. Right now, that's what you're witnessing. You're witnessing the integration of different platforms. We are on Facebook and we are on Zoom. What does that look like? How does that happen? Learn it. Learn it. It is not hard. It's a new model. It's a new model for a new world. So, what are your distribution channels? Look at this as manufacturing because this is not just business, but big business. So, where are you distributing? How are you distributing? Facebook, Zoom, membership sites, LMS, that's learning management system, brand system. What's the difference? You find that out later in the course or something. DM me to find out the difference between a learning management system and a brand system because there is a succinct difference, a big one, and it makes a big difference in your bank account too. So, emails, lives, Facebook groups. And I would not advise in person. I just wouldn't advise that right now. Is it possible? Yes. Highly advisable? No, because it's not sustainable. It might work for a minute, but then they might shut it down. So is that sustainable? So again, Facebook, Zoom, membership sites, LMSs, brand system, emails, lives. How are you distributing your content? Where is this going to happen? Meaning the launch. Where is your launch going to happen? How is it going to happen? And to what level is it going to happen? And this is what is your POD? Write that down. What is your POD? Because this might be the most important key to this entire thing. Your POD is your point of differentiation or your point of divergence. Where do you differentiate? There's a million coaches. What makes you different? There's a million speakers right now. What makes you different? There's a million consultants right now. Trust me. What makes you different? Imagine a library going into Barnes and Nobles. What makes your book literally jump off the shelf no matter who enters the store? What does that look like? What makes you different? What makes your launch any different from everybody else's? What makes your email different than anybody else's? What makes your copy, your content, your posts, your face, your presentation, your logo, your website? What is your point of differentiation? Where do you diverge? Okay, let me say it this way. When you find out where your brand diverges, that's where your freedom emerges. Your freedom emerges where your brand diverges, because that is where your money will be coming from. That is where your sales pipeline will be coming from. Not similarity, but divergence and differentiation. What does your advertising look like? What does that look like? We are going to return for 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Right back. Screen 2 seconds. All right. Let me ask, can everyone see my screen yet again? There we go. Now, that was a shakeup. That what just happened was a shakeup. It was a minor disruption. Would that have shut you down? Would that have shut you down? Would you have known how to handle that quickly and succinctly without panicking and losing your train of thought or your presence of mind, your professionalism? Would you have panicked? Would you have known how to handle that? Put that in the chat if you would have known how to handle what just happened. I know some people were like, oh, what happened? You probably got nervous for me. You probably got nervous for me. What just happened? How do I handle it? How's he going to handle that? I hope he recovers quick. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Do you know how to handle when situations occur? Because everything is real. This is live. This is not pre planned or pre orchestrated or pre recorded. So you have to be able to be adaptable, calm under pressure, pivot, and tie in technology. You have to be proficient in technology right now. Everything is real. Mistakes happen, platforms change. How do you adapt? Okay. Just so you're aware, that was on purpose. I wanted to show you that real quick and how you adapt. So, distribution, where do you distribute? And then how do you advertise? What does your advertising, marketing, and everything look like? What does that look like for you? How do you communicate through a picture everything you are, everything you stand for, everything you represent, your what we call MVPs or morals, values, and principles? What does that look like? Is it branded? Is it branded? So, this is what branded means for those of you who may not be acquainted with the terminology. This is a book. This is actually a rebrand. This is a relaunch. This is a book that was released in 2018, updated to reflect and represent the new brand. So when it comes to your products and services, is yours branded? Notice some things. Color scheme. What's that on my head? What is that on my face? That's a microphone. Why? Because I speak. What's that on my wrist? Is that a watch? Do I value time? And if you looked even closer, Let's see if I can get closer. If you looked even closer, I can't get close enough, but there's a wedding ring on my hand, right? You see the creases in the shirt. You see the tie clip, the tie held down by the clip. Those are strategically placed. Those are strategic items. The microphone, the tie clip. You see the ring here. If you can see it, it's very small in this picture, but that is a logo. The logo represents the brand, the colors, the color psychology is leaned into here. There's a reason for everything. You have to be calculating, deliberate, and intentional in this space, in this market, because it is extremely, as I said before, volatile. What is your divergence plan? How do you diverge? How do you adapt? What is your vision? This may be, again, the single most important aspect of anything you do, not only in business, but in life. Your life and business. I think this might be another time for you to use your pens. Your life and business will only expand in direct proportion to your beliefs and self-defeating, limiting beliefs. Now, what do I mean by that? If you believe that you can achieve a certain goal, you can. If you believe that you cannot, that is true too. Wherever you set your GPS will determine your direction. Whatever meaningfulness you apply, whatever meaning that you apply to what you focus on, that will determine your actions, and your actions will determine your results. Take a moment. Let that resonate. Focus, meaningfulness, action, and results in business or in life. What you focus on and give meaning to, and the meaning that you give to it will determine the actions that you take, which will definitely determine the results that you get in life and business. And this is true for money too. So if you believe you're not supposed to make, if you believe that $75,000 a year is an outrageous, egregious, obscene number, then you will never reach it or reach above it. If you believe that you were born to be a millionaire and you're going to do everything that you can to reach that number, pandemic notwithstanding, your base income. See, some people make $75,000 a year and it's heaven for them. Completely heaven. A dream come true. Couldn't be better. Top of the world. Another person would look at $75,000 as a small marketing budget for the month. Facebook ad spend for the month, or half, or not even a fraction of the Facebook marketing ad spend for a week. Two different perspectives, two different belief systems, two different meanings applied to the focus, definitely resulting in two different actions and two different result sets. So you are where you are in your life based on your vision. You are where you are in your business based on your vision, pandemic notwithstanding. Visibility. We're going to dial it in now. Visibility. How many people know you exist? How many people know that you exist? If you were to say between 1 and 100, or 100 and 200, 200 and 300, put that in the chat for me. How many people know you exist? Really? I want you to be honest and think about that. How many people know you exist? I don't see the chat moving at all. Does that mean nobody? How many people know you exist? You can say 900 to 1,000, 1,000 to 10,000. How many people know that you exist? Hmm. Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? It's very interesting. When you say, I want to make a massive impact, I want to make $1 million. The easiest way to make $1 million is know 1 million people and get $1 from each of them, or know one person that you could sell $1 million of product to. One or the other. Somewhere in between, maybe 4 people that you can sell something that is $250,000 to. You have to think about this. And if it's not enough, you have to change it. How do you change it? How do you add people to that number? This is your strategy. How do you add people to that number? Because your visibility is very important when it comes to the launch of a product. Who are you launching to if nobody knows you? Social media. You have to go a little bit stir crazy and let people know what, when, where, how, and why you do what you do. You see that phone? There's that phone again. More power is in that phone than the power that was utilized to take the first people to the moon. More energy, more scope, more reach. I think that you can do much more with your phone than you're doing right now. As a matter of fact, I know it. You have to know what and how to operate your tools and resources. This is the thing. People say, oh, I don't have money. But if you have a phone, you have resources that are worth a whole lot more than money. That's all it takes right now to get the money that you think you need to do everything else. So if you have a phone, if you're watching this, if you have access to see, there's some third world countries where they don't have running water. That's different. That's different. If you don't have running water, clean water, that's different. But if you have a phone, you have a cloud. You have multiple clouds. Look at all those tabs. Every tab on that phone is a potential cloud to create a stream of income. Think about that. Really just let your head wrap around that. Every tab you see on that phone is a cloud that can become a stream of consistent rain, a deluge, a hurricane, a tornado of money and people. You have access to people behind every app on your phone. How are you tapping in? How do people find out that you exist? Do they know you? Will they now? Let me ask that. Based on what you're learning here, do you think that you'll be able to raise your visibility today? Put that in the chat. Do you think that you'll be able to raise your visibility today. Good. The only thing stopping you is you at this moment. It's not COVID, it is your mindset, your belief system. It's not the government, it is your belief system. If you have a phone, you have access. If your fingers work and you have a phone, if you can have access, if you're listening to the sound of my voice, then you can create clouds and rainfall from those clouds. What are some other approaches? Be creative. What else can you do? What else can you do? So we have referrals, we have JVs, those are joint ventures. You can have giveaways, you can have organic promotions, you can give free events, you can have informational seminars, you can hire promoters and marketers to promote your launch, and you can purchase ads. Those are just a few. Those are just a very, very few, just skimming the surface of different things that you can do. And in front of and behind of each of these commas can exist multiple millions of dollars during a pandemic. You can make multiple millions of dollars through referrals, more than a comfortable life with joint ventures. Giveaways can bring people into your world, and you can then lean into an offer later. Organic promotions, it does not take Facebook ads, but you can use those too. Free events. Everybody wants to attend something right now. Informational seminars. Everybody needs to learn something right now. You can hire promoters and marketers to promote your launch for very little right now. And if you do this right, and if you learn some other things, then you can also purchase ads for very little and have a big result and big impact right now. These methods will raise your visibility. Now, the coveted. After all of these different steps, can everybody see how many things it takes to make a successful product launch? It's not because somebody woke up with an idea. It's not just because somebody thought of something or they got the inspiration or had a flash of inspiration. You just see a funnel. You just see a new book. You just see a new website. You just bump into an ad and you think, oh, this looks nice. Yeah, it does. Why? Because of all of these things that take place below the surface. That's why. That's why you're listening to my voice right now, because of all of the things that we did that took place below the surface, every single one of them, and all of the caveats, social media, PODs, points of divergence, distribution channels, strategy that was put together, foundational steps that we take every single morning, every single day, all throughout the day. So many different resources, so many different apps on the phone, so much time by multiple people. So if you have two people, you have 48 hours in a day. How do I get more? How do I make? There's not enough time, Sean. There's not enough time. How do I get more time, Sean? There's not enough hours in a day. If there's more of you, there is. Hmm. if there were three of you, you would have 70, you would have 72 hours. Think about that. Say, I don't have enough time in a day, Sean. There's only 24 hours in a day. If you have two people, there's 48 hours in a day. This is called duplicating yourself. This is called being creative. It's called being intelligent thinking. One person has 24 hours in a day. Two people don't have 24 hours in a day. They have 48. Three people have 72. Four people have 96. How do you lean into that? Show me how to get some of that. All you have to do is inspire one, and you multiply the hours in a day from 24 to 48. Help someone. Be of value so that someone sees fit to help you. Have vision. Stop just trying to get a dollar. It's bigger than that. How do you like what I just said? If there's one of you, you've got 24 hours in a day. If there's two of you, you've got 48, and so on and so forth. Lean into the power that you really have and stop thinking that you don't have enough. Now, finally, it's time to launch. Now what? What do you do? What do you want to make sure you do not do? Is it a thing you do that you are launching, or is it something that you are selling or branding, and why? You've established your value by now. If you've gone through all the steps that I've given you, you will have established your value. You have gone from 24 hours, hopefully, to 2,400 hours at least. You will have raised your visibility from 1,000 to 250,000 through your phone. Yeah, I know. Think about that. You can get a dollar from a million people, you're a millionaire. 99 cents. 99 cents. How do you get them? What are your outcomes? What are your desired outcomes of your launch? Is it to become a number one bookseller? Is it to have 50 new clients, 10,000 new leads, strategic partnerships and alliances, 50K or $50,000, $5 million experience? Is that the reason why you're launching? Establishing authority, brand recognition. One launch, one launch can give you all of the above. I want you to wrap your head around that. One launch, one launch can give you everything you see. Just one. The power of one. The one thing. Focus on one. Now, who thinks this is good? Who thinks these outcomes are good for one launch? Because if you can launch one successfully, you can duplicate that model, and you can launch one every month. You can launch one every quarter, and you can launch one every year, and just multiply. And that is called POS, point of scale. For the information on how to do that, you'll have to work with me. There's a little bit too much for me to give that to you right here. So you have to get in contact with me, drop a comment. If you want to know more about that, hashtag branded, put that in the contents, just hashtag branded, and someone will reach out to you on how you can duplicate this multiple times throughout your life. No matter what's going on outside your door. If you've got Wi-Fi, you can do this. If you have a phone, you can do this. Outcomes. What are your desired outcomes? Now, staying on top, very important. Now, in order to stay on top, what must you do? The job is not over just because you launched, made some money, got some clients. Now is where the real test begins. That's what people think. They're like, okay, I wrote a book. I'm done with the book, Sean. I finished the book. Okay, great. Is it edited? Oh, nah. You haven't finished the book. You wrote a lot of words. You have what they call a unedited manuscript. Now the work begins. You think it takes time to write a book? Yeah. Now you need to edit it or pay for it to be edited. Welcome to the wonderful world of book publishing. It's not just because you wrote a book. It's not because you went live. It's not because you did a video, got a YouTube channel now, got a Facebook page now. That's not the game. It's not over. It's just beginning. But can you do it? Of course you can. All day, but it might take 2 years of all day. It might take all day for every day for 6 years for you to have one successful launch. It takes what it takes. It takes what it takes. That's what I'm going to say because people move differently. So, what took me from crickets to digits and the numbers that I made in less than 90 days might take you 9 months. But what difference would it make? It's like a college degree, it doesn't have the beginning and end date, it just has the graduation, it just confers the results. It's easy to get money, but it's harder to keep it. It's easy to get people's attention, harder to keep it. It's hard to keep people hungry and keep them ready to go, ready to absorb, ready to move with a hungry disposition. Everybody wants to be a leader until it's time to do what leaders do. Leaders wake up first. Leaders go to sleep last. Leaders put up the money. Leaders put out the time. Leaders take sacrifices. Leaders sacrifice sleep and eating. They sacrifice comfort and they make sure that everyone else is taken care of. Everybody wants to be one, but nobody wants to do what's required. Sometimes leaders have to make a hard decision that people don't like. Leaders are largely unliked unless they try to please everybody. And that just is not a leader. That's something else. Everybody says, I want to be a leader. I want to know more about leadership. Do you really? You really want to know what it feels like and looks like? Think about that. Think about what it takes to stay on top. Events. So let me break this down. What is an event? An event can be a live, a course, content delivery session, a scheduled event, going live, a Zoom meeting, a coaching call, a phone call, a watch party, a series of emails, etc. Or this right here. This is an event. We call it the alien call. It happens every Wednesday, 4 o'clock in the morning. This is an event. I want to ask you something. What events are going to keep your clients engaged once you have them? Number one. Number two, what events are going to continue to bring you clients? What does that look like? Once they come to the event, how are you going to feed and serve them to justify their belief and buy in into your brand? And then I'm just going to say it's your turn because it is. It's your turn. There is space. There is room for you. There is room for you to duplicate the model. There is room for you to duplicate yourself. The earth is vast and spacious. There is room for you. The internet, the internet has duplicated space. It has created a cloud where you can exist here and there. There is so much room for you, for your launch, for your product, for your services, for your brand, for your value, for your book, for your coaching, for your speaking, for your consulting, for your products, for your dream, for your hope, for your mission, for your vision, for your values, for your future, for your children, for your money. There is so much room for you. Technology has changed everything. There is exponential room. They say, oh, it's crowded on the internet. There's so many people right now. There's so many people on Facebook. Okay, differentiate. That's what an open market is. It's what a free market is. It's about competition. Introduce your value, introduce your voice. This is where the concept of branding comes in, because there is still only one you. You can duplicate models, you can duplicate things, and you can duplicate yourself and other people, but no one can duplicate what you've been through, what your thoughts are, what your experiences, and the way you internalize and interpret situations and come out with your constructs of ideation. That is singular. That is not plural. People can agree, but no two things can exist inside of the same space. There is only one. Well, I hope this has been, if this has been productive, if this has been a learning experience, if this has been valuable, please put that in the chat. Let me know that I haven't wasted your hour. What, hour and 20 minutes? I want to make sure that I've served you to the highest degree. If you have learned something, put it in the comments below the post. And I do circle back. My team and I, we do circle back. And if you want to know more about branding and how to scale your brand, hashtag branded. Just put hashtag branded in the content, in the comments, and someone will reach out to you, because this is a serious, serious situation. It is a state of emergency. It is very important that you get this, because we live again in what has become a volatile market. This is the time during the live where I ask if there are any questions, comments, opinions, or suggestions.
Good morning, everybody. Um, I actually do. I have a couple. Well, I have a comment and a question. Um, One, first of all, thank you again for this information. For whatever reason, this is hitting me completely different.
Good.
And I think, like you said the other day, it's like another one of those breakthrough moments.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I spoke with a good friend of mine yesterday briefly. And I was sharing with her how I realized, for me, the situation that I'm in with my job and all those things, just finances, that being where I am right now in my life, and you said it, was because I didn't have a vision. I realized that I didn't have as clear of a vision when I transitioned after I left school and moving forward to where I am right now, versus the things that I've been learning over the last few months, knowing what I want, knowing what I see, and now positioning myself strategically to go to, have more, to have something better, and to go after what it is that I want. You know what I mean? So when the economy, when everything kind of took place, really, even like with unemployment, it hit me, like it literally, you know what I mean? Like it hit me, and I was like, whoa! It was like a chess move I didn't see coming. So
Mm-hmm.
now I'm trying to figure out, okay, how do I catch up, or figure it out to get back in the game, really, if you will. And so just hearing you talk about these things today, it really is like it clicked. So I'm like, okay, now I know. It's like, okay, I know what to do, you know what I mean, moving
That's right.
forward. um
That's right.
so my question, on our last session, we talked about, the people, who I either mentioned in my book, my acknowledgments, the people who I would acknowledge in the book, so
Mm-hmm.
on and so forth. When you talked about acknowledging them and then letting them know, pretty much like what I'm doing, can you kind of clarify that a little bit more, like that process and what you meant by that?
Well, when you write a book and you acknowledge someone,
Mm-hmm.
it's very important that they are aware of it, like how you acknowledge them. Some people acknowledge people that they haven't spoken to in 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important as to how you do that and what impact they have and what stories are told within the book. If there are stories about them that
Mm-hmm.
they might feel uncomfortable about, then it's very important that you let them know.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, it's very important that you put people on notice and just say, "Hey, I mentioned you, or do you mind if I mention you?" Because some people's dynamic has changed and shifted.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, because I
Okay.
thought about that when I was writing,
Yes, ma'am.
and with certain things. Okay. Cool.
All
Cool.
right.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Thoughts, questions, opinions, observations?
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Very well. Yourself?
Good, good. You mentioned something about testing your offer, and my
Yes.
mind immediately went to when you're on a discovery call with a client and you say your number. So I don't know if that's the exact frame of mind, or is it a little bit different?
Did you say your number?
Yes.
Well, let me say this. Yes, if you say your number and your number is branded, if you've got a branded number like we do, then yeah, that's going to be a test for sure.
Okay.
But what I
Okay.
was saying when when I say test your number, okay, so there's what we call landing pages, right? Landing pages, or like in ads,
Okay.
you do what is called a split test.
Okay. The AB. Okay.
Yeah, A B split test,
Okay.
where you can literally have the color blue and the color red and test them both and see which one is responded to. You can use different words and different phrases, like
Okay.
everybody come now, and then
Mhm.
the words join the community. Two different phrases, and
Mhm.
see which one people respond to. You can use two different book covers, like different variations on a book cover, and put the landing page out, or even just a meme out, and see which one is responded to. You can use long form or short form copy to sell the same thing. Put them both out at the same day in the same place, and see which one takes off. You can start planting seeds in the Fab Five business media platforms, and see where your ideal client finds you, likes you, respects you, and wants you. All of these are different A B split tests.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Anyone else?
Me.
Hey, good
Good
morning, Tasha.
morning. I think that this is very good. I think one of the things that happens in businesses is people do not know what happens behind the scenes. They do not realize that the amount of work of what they see
Oh yeah.
In the finished product, or rather they do not know the amount of work of what they see in the finished product. So I feel that having a peek or a thorough look behind the curtain sets the tone for how you separate yourself from a hustle and actually grow yourself a business, and actually build it. One of the major factors that I found interesting in the presentation is the iceberg. And I remember
Yeah.
I've seen posts that have like all of the words underneath the word success, and nobody really identifies that there's steps that actually have to happen in order to be successful. And you pointed out every single step before the product launch. It didn't just start with you woke up in the morning and it was like, you know what, I'm gonna just make Brandon like a leader. Like, no,
No, not
you
at
really
all.
had to do your homework, your research. You had to set the tone, or as you say, position yourself.
Yes,
you had to put
definitely.
you had to put yourself in a place to where you can be substantial and then continue growing from there. So I like that. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Yes, ma'am. Thank
Can I
you.
pick? Can I piggyback on what Tasha said?
Okay.
I mean, I think it's very interesting that when people talk about launches, they don't talk about the behind the scenes, or they give you a certain, um, or they give you a certain idea or a certain framework, but they don't really give you all of the information about what really goes into the launch.
No, that's like grandma's recipe. They want to have a patent on the apple pie.
Very true, very true.
Yeah, I want you to be able to go ahead and make the apple pie. I want you to
Thank
be able
you.
to eat too, because I know there's space. I don't have a scarcity mentality. I don't care about giving you all of the picture because that's what this is for. There's space here. Where there's 100 clients for me, there's 1,000 clients for you. There's no limit of people. There's no limit to value. There's no limit to money. They print it and they burn it every single day.
That's true.
It's just conceptual. It's just conceptual. All the limits that people believe, it keeps them in a state of lack. So again, focus, meaning, action, and results.
Mhm. Thank you so much for
You're
being
very
very
welcome.
transparent.
Yes, ma'am. Anyone else? Observations, comments, suggestions, opinions. Going once, going twice. This has been another edition of the Alien Code. This Wednesday, 4 o'clock in the morning. This happens every Wednesday at 4 o'clock in the morning without stop. I am your host, Sean Wright East, your branding strategist, leadership development speaker, and executive coach. We will be seeing you next Wednesday at 4 a.m. If you want your questions answered on air, sign up, register. The link is in the comments, the link is in the post. I appreciate you. It is an honor and a privilege to continue to serve you to a high degree. Build yourself before and while building the brand.